I see my name in shining lights. Yeah, a different city every night. Oh, I swear the world better prepare for when I'm a billionaire.
It's time to get down to business on the weekend's #1 business program. Known as the King of Networking, your host, Shalom Klein, has worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and created countless jobs. So, to success. Let's get down to business.
And indeed, we're all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You are on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you will not want to miss. So let's jump right into it. You know, it's interesting. Every morning, I'm pretty diligent and I check a number of different things, but I also check my bank account. And I have heard business owners that have said, well, you know, my accountant's saying I'm making money, so why don't I have any money in the account? So our first guest on the program today, Martin Holland, is an award-winning business coach who has 4 decades of experience as a successful business owner and teacher, and he's taught over 300 small businesses how to increase profit and cash flow. Very timely discussion as we approach the end of Q1 of 2021. So Martin Holland, welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir.
It's great to have you. So Martin, behind every bit of experience, there's probably a bit of a story. I know you have an MBA from the University of Oklahoma, but how did you get into this line of work at being the expert at helping people essentially earn a profit?
Well, started out with a good father who was an entrepreneur, had a lot of patents and started training me early. But over the last 47 years, I've started or reorganized 6 businesses. 2 of them failed, sold the other 4, sold the last one about 11 years ago, and decided I didn't really want to go through all that again, raising capital and establishing markets and getting everything. And I thought maybe there's a chance that my experience might benefit somebody else. So I got into coaching, took a couple of years to figure out what coaching is all about, and have never had so much fun in my life. It's just been absolutely staggeringly fun.
Well, I can tell you are having fun, and so much fun that you took the time to write a book called The Profit Problem, which again, they say I make money, so why don't I have any? And you talk about bookkeeping, accounting, financial, small business. So at this point in the conversation, some people might be starting to snore, but this is so important, and business owners, you need to listen to Martin Holland. So Martin, I don't want you to share all of the secrets in the book, but what are some of the things that you talk about that our entrepreneur listeners can put into action this week?
Well, thanks for saying that. And you said snore, and that I almost caution you, don't say bookkeeping because people will tune you out. Don't say accounting, people will tune you out. The way, just to get people in the right mindset, I ask people, if you knew that if you raised your gross profit margins 1%, that you would increase your profit 15%, would you do it? If you knew that increasing your sales by 17% would double your net profit, would you do it? If you knew that you could raise your prices 10% and lose 22% of your business without affecting your profit, would that give you the courage to look into raising prices? Those are the kinds of things that turn people from being eyes rolled back, bored about bookkeeping into, wait a minute, now where did you get that? That's information that comes from having good accounting records. There are, I think, a couple of reasons for that. And one is, this is axiomatic, in my opinion. People behave differently when you keep score. And accounting and bookkeeping and financial statements are the score. They tell you how they performed in the past. And if they're done properly, they inform your decisions about the future. I'm not nearly so interested in the past, paying taxes and things like that, which is what most books do in small business, or at least they scrabble enough together so that they can pay taxes. I want books that you can use to make decisions about the future. And there's another quote, I can't even remember if it was Deming or who it was, but he said, you cannot manage what you do not measure. So implied in that is you have to keep score. People will behave differently. And if you don't manage, everything that happens to you is an accident. You might thrive by accident, but it's not likely. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's the impetus behind what I do. And I absolutely love it.
It does, Martin. I'm speaking with Martin Holland, who is the author of The Profit Problem, as well as the host of a brand new podcast, which is pretty exciting. It's called The Cash Flow Contractor. Martin, I have to go back to that, I guess, preconceived notion that some people have is that building financial statements is something you have to do because you have to file your taxes at the end of the year. So you're arguing that actually building your financial statements and actually doing proper bookkeeping, and I'm using that word again, which is dangerous because folks on the other end of their speakers might start tuning this out, but it is so important. So you talk about how doing proper bookkeeping can actually help you figure out, is your business making money? Which areas are you making money? And you talk about some areas of uncovering businesses' true profit using EBITDA, which is a term that some people might not be aware of. So what are some of the things that caused you to discover this? What are some of the success stories that you've seen with some of the businesses that you've worked with that you've been able to dig in and really help them make more money?
Well, I'll have one example is my client who shows up after this interview. I've worked with him for about 2.5 years. When they came to me, they were chaos. They just had money. If they had money on Friday, they'd take it and personally would take it out. And if they didn't have money, they wouldn't, and they didn't know where they were. We finally cobbled together financial statements, and they'd lost mid-six figures. Within 1 year of understanding margins, which is a critical element that you get information from books. Within 1 year of getting margins, they were making positive six figures. And this in 2020, the COVID year, they made substantial six figures. So it's a swing from a minus mid six figures to the plus six figures. And essentially it was understanding margins. And once they understood what margins were, it pointed them in directions where they needed to make a change. One of the most critical, leave people with a concrete idea, one of the most critical fundamental ideas that you need to know, everybody needs to know for their business, is break even. Break even at its base level, at its most fundamental level, is the amount you have to sell every month, let's say, to pay all your expenses. So before break even, you're making nothing. After break even, you're starting to make a profit. The reason people know that is people think that they go to work every day and they make a little money, their landlord makes a little money, their employees make a little money, their suppliers make a little money, everybody's making a little money every day. That's not true. We don't make any money in our business until we paid all those expenses. And the important thing about that is that if you don't break even until the 29th of the month, you had better not go fishing on the 30th. So it's the most fundamental question. Anybody just take that out. How much do you have to sell every month? And then break even has literally thousands of other uses besides that. And that's what my book is, lots of examples of how to use it. And you wind up a little bit like Saul must have felt when he arrived in Damascus. I was blind, but now I can see. So it will guide your decisions rather than just making decisions about how you feel on a particular day.
Wow. Well, Martin, I have to ask, because we are having this conversation in mid to late March, it might be a little bit too late, but people need to find an accountant. What advice do you have for business owners that need to go through that search? What should they be looking for, and what questions should they be asking?
Well, let me preface it by saying I love accountants. I love accounting. Most people don't, but I do. My book has specific questions to ask. Accountants come in different flavors. There are tax accountants, audit accountants, forensic accountants, but they're what's called managerial accountants. They think differently. You can produce your taxes and everything with a managerial accountant, but managerial accountants arrange your books differently and think differently. So you're looking for an accountant who can help you make decisions about the future, not just plug numbers or stick numbers where they need to be, not illegally, but just stick them someplace convenient so that you can pay your taxes. Again, in my book, I have a description of what I consider to be the right kind of managerial accountant, and then questions to ask so that you can find out if the person you're talking to is the right accountant.
It sounds like people need to pick up a copy of your book and find your podcast and find your website. So let's make sure we share all of that information with our listeners. Where can people learn more about everything that you're doing?
Well, my business coaching website is www.anealbc, and that's ANNEALBC.com. My book website is theprofitproblem.com. And our podcast, which I think people will really enjoy, we get great feedback, is the Cash Flow Contractor, and cash flow is one word. You can find that on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere else, web, any place that you would get a podcast.
Well, Martin Holland, thanks so much for sharing your expertise with our listeners. We're going to continue our conversation about small business jobs and entrepreneurship after a very quick break. But a shout out to our amazing friends and supporters of Get Down to Business. Check out ChicagoSignatureLimo.com and HealthPlanChicago.com. We will be back in just a moment. More small business jobs and entrepreneurship when we return after this quick break.